Beautiful folks, what is up and how are you doing? This is your plug Valentine, the plug, and I'd like to welcome y'all back to another video in which we're going to be doing an R&B cook-up. So this chord progression that I got for y'all, right? It is at times playful, it is innocent, it is sexy, it is mischievous, it is everything. It is that quintessential sitting up in your bedroom late night texting with the person you like. And that's the vibe that we are going for. So when I think of that, I definitely think of, some very smooth synth leads, which I definitely want to add. And I'm thinking of an artist like Jhene Aiko. Let's try and make it a Jhene Aiko vibe, maybe with a little bit of Jaquees goodness sprinkled on top of that. All right, let's go mosey on into FL Studio. So this chord progression, if you ask me, I was in my bag. I was so deep in my bag, I could feel the fabric it was made of. That's how deep I was in my bag. So I'm gonna just play y'all what I got for y'all. I absolutely love it. It's just, wow, I love it. So what you can see, what I did is I not only took out a piano from Contact, but I also immediately played my guitar melody. Because y'all know I'm still experimenting with using my electric guitar, and the melody is super basic. Because I'm mostly limited by my playing ability, but it does the trick. It's not supposed to draw attention, but it's a very welcome supplement. Now, a cool thing that I did, and trust me, I'm gonna get to the chord progression. A cool thing what I did is that once I already ran it through Guitar Rig, I recorded it through Guitar Rig, so it has some effects on it. I added the chorus effect, but what I did is I added a doubler, and the doubler is something that I add on vocals, of course, to make it more wider, of course. But I also added another voice and pitched it down. So let me just show you what it sounds like without it. I thought that was a very cool effect to have onto your vocals, onto the guitar. So that chord progression, right? Let's break it down. What I got for y'all is a G sharp major 7 chord, and that then transitions into an inverted D sharp major chord. All right, y'all can follow that. What I've got here now is a G dominant 7 chord, double the root note, and this random A sharp on top, and that goes into an B augmented chord, which actually needs that random ass F because it sounds good that way. Right. So what I've got here, C minor 7 chord, and that then transitions into what is actually an A sharp major 6th chord with another doubled root note. Then that goes into a D sharp major chord, random ass C sharp below that. Makes it look like a D sharp dominant chord. This might actually be a D sharp dominant 7 chord, excuse my French. And this is actually supposed to be another major 6th chord, but I omitted the C. And that's got that weird ass D. So I made some very peculiar choices with this chord progression, but it works, right? So what I feel like doing now is adding a lead, because I've got this mega smooth melody, that real cozy, smooth 90s R&B, bedroom, dirty, nasty, sweaty, whatever melody that I just want to lay down for y'all. Let's go and do that. Alright, so for the sake of convenience, I recorded that baby into Contact first, and actually I just might keep it as like a supplemental melody. But what I'm actually looking for is a specific lead, an analog lab that I use for another beat that I made this week, and it is the perfect kind of fluty synth lead that I'm looking for. And I think it is something with VHS. I think it's called Old VHS Flute. Yeah, perfect. That's the one that I want. So copy that baby, paste that baby, and this is what's going to be sounding like. Alright, so I found me a pad in Analog Lab, and the pad is called Classic Synth Pad, and it does definitely sound like a classic synth pad. But it's also the kind of pad that I'm actually looking for. It's that kind of synth pad that has that very pleasant swell as the notes, as you hold the notes down. So I did my regular schmegular processing thing. This is the sound that I got now. And I just really want to stress, please add some processing onto your pads. I mean, pads are interesting enough out of the box, but you can do so much more with them if you just unleash a couple of good effects on them, because it makes your pad interesting. It's like a pad is like this blanket sound that's there in the background, and it can get boring if it's just sustained notes. So you got to add some movement, some modulation, some form of manipulation to it to make it even more interesting, because a pad doesn't just have to be background fill. It can be a very interesting element on itself. At least that's my take on it. So that's why I just keep adding chorus effects and phases effects on it, because I like a pad as like this very low-key thing that's actually putting in a lot of work when it comes to your ambience or your beats. Alright, so I think my ensemble is getting pretty solid. Alright, so I'm gonna give vocal runs to another spin. I mean, I've said what I said about the usability and the interface, but they do have good sounds though. So that's why I'm still giving them a chance. So yeah. Okay, so vocal runs actually done came through. But there's a little gripe that I have, and that actually doesn't have to do anything with vocal runs. That is the way that RNB works, because essentially I'm moving in and out of keys. I'm borrowing chords from the parallel key, from the relative minor key, or just other keys in general. So often when you try to load up vocal samples, you have to be very careful. A definitely came through. So I'm gonna take my time processing that. After this, it is time for a bass line. Then I think I want to add maybe a guitar pattern, and then it's all drums. Right, so for my next trick, I'm gonna be making an 808 pattern, and the 808 that I'm gonna be using is the Earshaker G Sharp 808 in Southside Splice Kit. And honestly, among the 5 808s that I use regularly, this is, I think, my most used 808, and for good reason. It has great attack, great harmonics. It's just bouncy, it's that. I use it for a lot of hard beats, but with proper tuning, it's also amazing for R&B beats. Also, I am going to commit a producer sin, and that is I'm not going to tune this 808 to C. I'm not going to tune it to C. I'm going to use my ears. So what y'all saw me do, I originally thought I settled on one 808 pattern, but eventually I ended up making 2, because the difference is that I'm using half notes for this one. Half notes, right? Hold on. I'm sorry, I'm using whole notes for this one, and I'm using half notes for the other one, and I think that's a great distinction to make. So I'm probably going to use the one with the half notes for the hook. All right, so as y'all can see, I went ahead and I added some stuff. I went ahead and I added a percussion loop, a crash, and another kind of wind chime effect. That classic wind chime effect that you used to hear a lot in like early 2000 hip hop, when it was mostly just men making songs for the women, and they just always say shit like "this one's for the ladies," or you'd have Bow Wow or Lil Romeo with their tracks, and usually you'd hear something like this playing in the background. You know, that typical cheesy wind chime effect, and there's also that one specific snare that sounds like somebody's just hitting a block of wood, but hey, it works. Um, so drums, yeah, I'm gonna add a drum beat, and then I'm gonna wrap this up. All right, so with a slight BPM change from 123 to, let me turn it down to 122, a little variation in the drum pattern. Y'all was able to hear it just now, but this beat is solid. So all that's left is arrangement and mixing, and y'all know that I'm just gonna do that in my own free time with the camera off, so I can just do whatever I want. But I really want to thank y'all for just sticking with me and watching this video. Now I hope that y'all either learned something, I hope that y'all was either inspired or at the very least entertained, because I really enjoy making these videos for y'all, and y'all compliment just keep me going. So thank y'all, and I'm gonna see y'all in the next video. Peace.